Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Welcome to Truth Lies Shenanigans, the live streaming podcast. My name is Neo Nix, and I'm officially 1 year older. Yes, I'm another year older. Birthday just this past Thursday, so you know. All right.
Happy birthday, Nia.
Would you?
You're not off the hook that quickly.
I don't get off the hook that easy. All right.
Well, how old are you?
Oh, I'm not saying that right.
Ooh.
I'm young dude.
What's one thing you learned since being 1 year older? Like in the past year, what's one thing you learned?
It's okay to cry.
Oh,
You just
I love that.
Well,
You
okay,
just
well,
learned
maybe I didn't just learn that, but I learned that.
probably cry at least twice a day. So what did you do for your birthday?
Seriously.
What did I do? Oh, so, I mean, my wife took me out for some golf. We went to the driving range, and
Nice.
we went to Top Golf. So it was not really a driving range, but you know, it's still fun. It's like the bowling of golf, you know. So it's like,
That's fun.
but it was fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it. So, and then we had dinner, and then it's just low key, and then the next day I had like a little birthday party with the family. So it was a lot of fun.
Ooh.
Awesome.
All right.
An eventful week.
So enough about me. We have a really great show today because it's movie time. Every month, Micah Payne from Black on Black Cinema joins us to chat with us about the movies. We have two movies this time. We're talking about Stowaway and Monster. And for our show high topics, Rob B is wondering if the Tokyo Olympics, that's a tongue twister, Tokyo Olympics, is still the right thing with the pandemic, still a problem there. Lizzie wants to talk about the double standard when it comes to men's and women's bodies. And Gianni is poking fun at the recent YouTube outage. As always, we'll open the show with a quick fire and close with Shenanigans, the game show. Before we get into the show, I've got to introduce you to my lovely co-hosts, our professor, editor, journalist, sports savant out of Washington, D.C., Miss Lizzie Enders.
Curtsy, everyone, curtsy. What's up? It's Sunday, fun day. I hope everyone had a good week, that you guys were able to get some rest and be productive. A lot of shit going on in my world this week. So I officially resigned from Howard University as a full-time lecturer and
Wow.
Wait,
professor.
so should I don't know if we should be like, oh, I mean, is this a sad moment or what?
Bittersweet.
Honestly, it is a sad moment. Yeah,
Okay.
right, Gianni. It's kind of bittersweet. Hopefully, I will be able to teach at Howard in the fall in some capacity, maybe as an adjunct, teaching maybe one class a week. But I accepted a position that came out of nowhere. So I will be an editor and the general director for the Bill Rhoden Fellows program with ESPN's Undefeated. And so
Wow.
I will still be working with HBCU students, but this time the group of students will be smaller. So instead of like 100 students,
Nice.
it'll be six students per cycle. And these are prospective journalism students who attend HBC universities, who are maybe in journalism programs, but don't necessarily have the same tuning, have the same foundation that they may get at a non-HBCU. So we'll be heading
Wow.
up that program. So I'm very
Wow.
excited about that. But in addition to that, I'm still
Liz.
doing 50,000 other jobs. So yeah.
Well, congratulations on that.
A lot.
All right.
Wow.
Thank you.
And we have our rock star, gamer, tech guru with the rock band Ballin' Machine coming to you from Sudbury, Ontario, Mr. Rob B. Rock.
What's up, everyone? So good to be here. It's man, Liz, that sounds so eventful, and I've just
does.
kind of
I know.
kicked it into low gear. Yesterday, I just played outside, cut some wood, piled some wood when it felt about was about 85 degrees out, and
It
this
was
morning we
hot
woke up
there,
and it
huh?
felt like 40 degrees.
Wow.
So, you know,
Wow.
It's
40.
burning
and
up.
I'm learning my American numbers.
Yes, yes.
Celsius and Fahrenheit, yes. All right, our native New Englander streaming from Atlanta, Georgia, college student, model, actress, co-host of Wednesday, TLS Unscripted, Miss Gianni Storm.
Hey guys. Happy Sunday fun day. Rob, I'm so sorry that it's burning over here. It's burning hot. And it feels like you
Atlanta,
feel
I'm
all
sure.
of it because it's the South. So I'm ready to move to like Nevada at this point, somewhere in Las Vegas. This week was
Nevada.
good though. It wasn't too eventful.
But you want to go from Atlanta
Yes.
to Nevada?
It's
You don't think that
scorching
it'll be
hot
like
in Nevada.
drier? Oh,
So that's the
It's
thing about heat. Heat is hot, whether
it's
yeah.
like
it's
200
dry.
degrees in Nevada.
Nevada is no joke in the spring and summer. It is so flipping hot. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Nevada and Phoenix, Arizona, it's ridiculously hot.
Yeah,
Say
Oh
it
my
it's
gosh, I thought it would be better because it's not like humid.
not
Oh,
Nevada.
Johnny, my people migrate to Arizona for the winters, and then they
My
return.
My people. I'll keep that in mind. Maybe not Las Vegas.
No, you probably need some LA. You want some dry weather with some good
Yeah.
temperatures. You thinking like LA, San Diego, something like that. So
Okay. San
that's what you
Diego.
should probably be looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a quick look at you and Olivia talking with some of your audience about cheating on TLS Unscripted.
In college, Olivia, high school, back in the day, Olivia, do you think you still would have the mentality you do now about cheating?
No, because I feel like for me, I'm speaking for me.
Right.
I didn't really know how special I was. I'm so special.
You are. You're an angel.
I'm so special. Like I'm actually everything I have is so special. And I think I thought they were more special than me. And now I know that I'm like, you can't touch me. Like don't make me dirty. Like don't get me dirty. Like but that's really how I think. I'm like, no. But back then I probably fight through it, try to work. No, you know what? No, back then I actually act like it don't exist.
So, Gianni, give us a point of reference. Like, what was the topic? What were you guys talking about as it was cheating?
We were actually doing a segment that was which was worse, and I think it had to do with oral sex. And so it was like we kind of pivoted from that to like in that context. I think the girls were saying that they wouldn't leave somebody that cheated on them. Basically, that's what the guests were saying.
Would they deal
They
with
were
it?
giving their point. Yeah, they would deal with it. And so Olivia was like, no, why would you deal with it? Like, I know who I am now. Like, I love myself. I wouldn't deal with something like that, basically. So.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a fun time on TLS Unscripted Wednesdays, 8 p.m. if you want to join the live conversation. Or you can listen to them anytime on Apple Podcast channel the next day. All right.
I'm just curious. I missed Unscripted, this past Wednesday, but I'm curious, not about the cheating portion of the conversation, but I'm curious to hear what y'all talking about as it related to oral sex. Like,
you got to check it out. You got to check it out. It's
interesting.
definitely
gotta check it
online.
out.
Definitely check that. It was interesting conversation. On top of that, they did a challenge at the end, a gummy bear challenge, hottest gummy bear challenge. Oh my gosh.
I thought you were going to say on top of that, they did a simulation, and I was going to
A simulation.
you gotta do a back segue, because
All right, let's get into our quick fire.
That's too funny.
All right. As you guys may be aware, Palestinian and Israeli forces have been volleying missiles at each other for 11 days. killing more than 250 people. They just ceased fire on Friday. Now, many celebs have been posting support for Palestine. Well, a Jewish organization posted a full-page ad claiming people like Dua Lipa and Gigi Hadid and others were being anti-Semitic. Well, Dua Lipa clapped back saying, "I stand in solidarity with all oppressed people and reject all forms of racism." So my question to you guys, what would your response have been? Let's start with Robbie Rock.
I would start with no response. I would remove myself from the echo chamber and reevaluate the information upon which my viewpoint is based.
All right, Johnny Storm.
In my Mariah Carey voice, why are you so obsessed with me?
Why are you so obsessed? And Lizzie, what would you have said?
I'm calling Dave Chappelle and Trevor Noah. Calling Dave Chappelle and Trevor.
Yo, they would put them in place. Yes. For me, it's straight up Islamophobia. From a bunch of occupiers, right? You can't throw rocks from glass houses. I mean, that's basically what they're doing.
Also, it makes no sense, like especially as it relates to Gigi Hadid and her sister Bella. Their father, Mohammed Hadid, is Palestinian. So of course,
why wouldn't they support, right?
Support of their father, of their father's heritage, of their father's homeland. But I hate that, anytime someone comes out and speaks out against Israel in this conflict, and this conflict has been going on since 1948, beyond our lifetimes, okay? In my entire life, there's been a war in Israel-Palestine. But anytime someone comes out in America at least, and speaks out publicly against Israel and what's going on, all of a sudden they turn into bullies, and all of a sudden we become anti-Semitic. And it's just like, no, that's not the case. Israel is not above reproach. If you're doing wrong, you're doing wrong. And that's not to say that, the Palestinians overall are innocent. Like, we know Hamas is not innocent. However, there are people dying and the numbers don't stack up. You have Israel, who has an arsenal that's up to here. In this conflict over the past 11 days, 200
they're nuclear power
have died. 200 Palestinians have died, at least 50 of them children. And this is what happens each time this comes up. So don't come at me calling me anti-Semitic, which I'm not, because I'm calling you on your shit. And by the way, you have a leader, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's a criminal.
Yeah.
Who's a criminal.
Yeah.
So
I thought he was. I thought he was voted out. I don't even know how he's still prime minister. I think he. Yeah. Anyway, it frustrates me that all the killing and the hatred done in the name of God, right? They're justifying
invisible lines and invisible friends that kill people. We're all human. We all have the same inalienable rights. We all have the same desires. We want to pursue our lives in a way that fulfills us, that brings happiness and purpose to our lives. But that said, I mean, when you have invisible lines and invisible best friends that are causing you to perpetrate hate on others, you have to give up that ideology and you have to be a better human.
I mean, but they're always justifying that it's, God, the name of God is religion and all that stuff. The truth is, it's not even as with most evil things in humanity, it's about power. It's about power and control. One thing, and I read Jacqueline Robinson said this conflict has been going on for centuries. It hasn't been going on for centuries because most people don't realize Israel was created in 1948, and it was built on stolen land from the Palestinians by England and European Jews. And not to mention, there was an ethnic cleansing that happened around that time too, where they were trying to get rid of the Palestinians. So we're not talking centuries. It shouldn't. I mean, this is in my parents' lifetime, not my grandparents. This was in my parents' lifetime. So that they created Israel. Israel didn't exist prior to 1948. So, is it really surprising that the Palestinians want to fight for their land and want their land back? And
I think what Jacqueline Robinson is referring to is the conflict between the two sides. Yes, Israel didn't exist before 1948.
Muslims and
but there was
Judaism,
conflicts between the Muslims and the Jews in this area for years before 1948. So
Sure.
when I say conflict has been going on my entire lifetime, I'm talking about specifically about the names Israel, Palestine. Because if you talk to a lot of Jews, they say that there is no such thing as Palestine. You know, if you talk to a lot of Palestinians, they say there's no such thing as Israel. But this conflict between the two sides, between the two groups of people, has been going on for centuries, for decades.
Sure.
Yes.
But specifically, the Israel didn't exist until 1948. So, anyway.
And as Jack Robinson just pointed out, it's a conflict, you know, for who has the right to the Holy Land. And that goes back centuries.
Yep.
Well, that's it. That
But
all
this is
goes back
still
to who's
stolen
following the
land. I
correct
mean,
Where it
prophet.
started.
Because we're talking about these are Europeans who are occupying. These are not. This is not like it's other Middle Easterners in Israel. These are Europeans who came and occupied Israel and took it over. So it's yes, I get it, but again, you know, there has been conflict between Jews and between Palestinians, but we're talking about specifically Israel, and Israel specifically was a colonization.
With, again, like I said, with this iteration of the conflict, if you will, but it predates 1948. It predates that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of history there.
Well, whatever it is, they need to stop it. So, and I additionally, so they could put a full-page ad out on me. I support the Palestinians as well. And you know, it's another thing. You know, this is a different era because you know, over the years we have seen on the news. Growing up, I saw on the news that it was all about Hamas doing terrorist attacks and doing all these other things. But when you look on, like, now we have TikTok, we have Facebook, and we have all the videos that are coming out of Palestine as opposed to what's coming out of Israel, you start to realize there's a different side to the story than we've seen our entire lives. And the side is that these are occupiers who are who have taken over the land, and these people just want to live, many of them.
My whole thing is this, because the initial question was for this quick fire, what would you do if someone
we did
took
go a
an
little
ad?
off. Sorry,
And-
Micah.
And,
I know you're waiting.
and again, you know, if I'm Dua Lipa, I'm like, you know what, Chris Cross, you can get the finger. Keep my name out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Keep my name out of your ad. You have bigger issues than me, Elizabeth Newman, or Dua Lipa calling you out on your shit in a tweet.
Yes.
If that's the only issue, then it wouldn't be a war. There wouldn't be bombs launching left and right all over the place. So don't worry about me. Worry about your shit at home. Worry about that.
Tell them, Liz.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's time to get to some fun. We gotta switch gears. I actually wasn't expecting that one to be so intense. All right. It's movie time. We should have some popcorn from now on. We should just, every time Micah comes on, we should bring some popcorn.
Great idea.
All right, so we are welcoming back Micah Payne from Black on Black Cinema Podcast. Micah.
There's nothing like a discussion on worldly events and then just kind of skid right into a couple of movies.
You just throw Micah in there.
Speaking of transitions.
All right, so Micah, give you a second. Just remind everybody about yourself, Black on Black Cinema, and what Black on Black Cinema is all about.
I'm a podcaster. We've me and my buddy Jay have been podcasting with an assortment of friends for this will be our 10th year in September. And this
10 years ago? There were podcasts 10 years ago?
Yeah.
And Black on Black Cinema is one of the podcasts we do. We spotlight movies that center around the Black experience or are created by Black people, and we review them because sometimes those movies don't get the mainstream appeal that they should. But you know, I love movies, period. And I have a couple of movies for you guys today. One of them is a 2021 science fiction thriller called Stowaway. Now, here's the log line. A three-person crew on a mission to Mars faces an impossible choice when an unplanned passenger jeopardizes the lives of everyone on board. The film is directed by Joe Penna. It is starring Anna Kendrick, Daniel Day Kim, Shamir Anderson, and Toni Collette. Look, I like my space movies. My space movies, like the space movies tend to come in a couple different flavors, right? One of them is like science fiction horror. One is science fiction survivalist, and the perfect science fiction movie, space movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Nice.
This
2001: Space
this
Odyssey.
this movie tries to kind of juggle the line between thriller and survivalist. The thing about space movies like this, it's a slow burn, right? It kind of takes a minute to get things going, and it because it's space, it's isolation, right? And everybody's just kind of with their thoughts. So all these space movies take a slow burn. I prefer the more the thriller aspect and the horror aspect. This, in my opinion, did not hit that, and it didn't touch on it. It did touch on it, but it didn't go as far as I think it should. With the question of there's a stowaway here, and there's not enough resources for 4 people on this 3-person mission. What's going to happen?
I mean, it was an easy answer for me. I don't know about the rest of you.
Exactly.
Answer for me about what we gonna do with God. But
You know, one thing I'm gonna just so knowing a little bit about NASA, I'm gonna just jump in here real quick. So knowing a little bit about NASA puts in a significant number of contingencies that I don't believe are taken into account in movies. I don't believe they're taken into account in movies. There's a
at all,
we're talking about one CO2 unit goes out, and all of a sudden it's just okay. The mission's over. That's not how NASA does things. I will tell you.
I will tell you.
As our NASA expert, can you answer me this question? How did he get screwed in to that area?
I can't figure that
Right?
part out. That's the
They
strangest
never
thing.
answer that.
I had to rewatch the scene just to understand what happened.
I was like, is there an explanation how he got up there?
That I didn't get. Okay.
People who were doing checks and balances before we
He
sent
was
3 folks in, no one thought, okay, how did people looking to screw all of these things in not see the big black man in a white space suit?
I know.
I don't know. I don't have the answer for that one. I wish I did, but that's
for me. There were too many little things like that were just not believable. And I don't know that NASA would send a 3-person crew on a 2-person vehicle that's been souped up to just meet
that's true.
the requirements for 3 people.
That's very true.
So, and then that's it. You throw a 4th person into the mix, and like Liz, I'm with Liz. I'm very utilitarian, where it's just kind of like, oh, well, someone's taking a little morphine nap tonight, and there you go. Let's carry on with our mission, because the options are we don't have enough resources to make it to point B, and Anna Kendrick's character is kind of foolish, because if you're the type of person who jumps into riptide waters, you're a statistic waiting to happen. Here's your Darwin Award. You were well intended, but here's your Darwin Award, buddy. It's there's just too many little things that weren't believable, but it was beautiful.
She was also foolish because she was the only doctor. Like, they need her on that ship. For any mishap that might happen, for any medical emergency, she's the only person who can address that. And so the fact that she was a scapegoat at the end, and she was the one that was sacrificed, I'm like, y'all really not going to throw Michael out there? I would have thrown him off of that ship so quickly. He would not have been
That's messed up.
That's messed up, Liz.
That is so messed up. That was going to be one of my questions. I was like, how many of us being the captain would just throw him out and be like, forget it? I'm just curious. You guys are crazy, man. I will never take a ship with you guys. I'm going nowhere with you.
Don't go away in my ship.
Yeah.
Ship.
He didn't do it
stow
on
away when
purpose.
This is
resources are
logical.
finite. When resources are
It's
finite, if you're
logical.
going to poke, I'm not dying of starvation because you snuck aboard or got sealed up aboard. You don't belong there. Sorry, there's no emotional bond with you yet, and I don't
Ooh,
want to
man.
die.
I'm surprised Rob B's saying it, but I'm not surprised Lizzie's saying it.
Death they would have faced, it would not have been as easy as the death that David gave the option for Michael. David gave Michael the option to take a injection
That's a fair thing to do. I agree with that.
easily in his sleep. They would have suffocated. It would not have been pretty. And even before they suffocated, they're thinking about it. They may have turned on each other. If I was Daniel Day Kim, if I was David in that situation, I wouldn't have even told Michael. I would have jabbed him in his sleep.
Yes, I believe you
That's the
would.
question I
I
was gonna
totally
ask you.
believe
That's the
Lizzie
question I was
would.
gonna ask.
Oh my God.
No harm, no foul.
No,
He's so
listen,
serious.
y'all
that-
some rude. I would have tried to do what Anna Kendrick did and try to figure it out. That's what I would have done. I would have done exactly what she did. I would have been trying to help her, hold out hope, figure something out.
So you would have risked the solar array that is required for the
Yep.
rest of your 2 years?
Yes.
No.
I
Like,
would've.
we're not all dying for the sake
Gianni's
of
with me. I got Gianni on my side.
Because you have to have faith, because we're not gonna die. Like, we're not gonna die, guys. There's no way we're gonna die. There's no way.
Dude.
Listen. They figured it out, and they would have had enough oxygen if it wasn't for this stupid solar whatever storm thing that happened.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I might have given a spoiler away. Sorry, guys. Spoilers.
This whole
They don't know.
is about spoilers. What are you talking about?
Wait, I gotta go online real quick. I gotta see what people are saying. Hold on. I gotta see who's saying. Let me see. We got so Jose said, Lizzie, I would do the same thing. Whatever.
Joe, oh my goodness.
Thank you.
I mean, look, self-preservation is a thing, guys. Like, I like Michael a lot, but I'm with Daniel Day Kim on this.
Oh,
I would
have given him the option. I certainly would have given. I agree with giving him the option.
And then I would have made him
Is
take
it
the
because he
option.
was a man? What if it was a woman?
So we're obviously the answer is that 3 out of 5 of us would kill the dude.
Yeah.
No, it's not killing him. It's preserving my life.
That's to kill him. You have to kill him to preserve your life.
You're not even supposed to be here, Michael, in the first place. I'm not even supposed to be dealing with you in the first place, okay? But my question to the panel is, did anyone think in watching this movie, did anyone suspect that he may have done it on purpose?
I did, but I couldn't figure out why or how. I couldn't figure out the motive or even how he did it.
He's training for the next mission. So if a service panel is left off and he stows himself way up inside, if he's hiding intentionally, then another tech would come along. Okay, it's clear, secure the panel. But they didn't really get into it, which that was kind of the crux
His
of it
reaction
for me.
seemed genuine that he was like, "What? We took off?"
For 2 seconds. After that, he was like, "All right, I'm here. I'm, watching movies on my iPad. I'm chilling."
That's true.
I might have been chilling too. I might be
I never
like,
thought about that.
Once I realized I'm up in space and I'm heading to Mars, I might have been like, yeah.
Right?
No.
And they taking care of his sister for whatever she needs. I'm like, okay.
Full ride. I'm with Neo. I'd be excited. It's like, great. I'm going to grow some poo potatoes on Mars, like Matt Damon.
Everyone has people at home. Like, that story, while sad, I got a story too. Like, your story is no better than mine. And I'm supposed to be here. You're not. Yanni, what you got to say?
I was going to say, like Micah said, I do usually, like, when it comes to sci-fi and space films, I like more thriller, horror, something that gets you on, like,
That's what I was sort of expecting from it.
Yeah, a little bit. I was too. But I felt like I kind of liked that this was more down to earth in a way. Like, it kind of felt really relatable because we, like how we're in that example, like, we are trying to figure out if who would kill Michael, like who would kill the fourth person. Is it right? Is it morally Correct. You guys are not giving.
He's just
This
killing the
is-
people, man.
I couldn't kill him. I would feel horrible. And then what if you guys end up dying? Like afterwards.
But my mission was not to die for a stowaway. If I think I'm going to
That's
die,
true.
it would have been on Mars. It would not have been this whole other situation before I even got to Mars. And like David said, like his 2 years of work was wiped away, gone, trash, in trying to save Michael. But going
Michael,
back to
yeah.
something Nico said about, you know, CO2 and the oxygen or whatever, how about when Zoe, when she and David went up and they retrieved the canister. I can't remember if it was an oxygen canister or a CO2 canister, but she retrieved
Liquid O2.
liquid O2. Okay. So coming down, he didn't have it tethered to anything. So of course it was gonna fall. Like I'm just like, oh my god, this is the dumbest scene ever. Did we really think he was gonna back down with that canister?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Wasn't believable.
Well,
Wasn't believable.
I personally liked the movie. I even liked the way it ended
too.
because I thought it was the right time to end. I will say the whole movie, I was like, okay, where's the catastrophic thing? Where's the something catastrophic? I mean, it started with one catastrophic thing, but I knew they had to end it on something catastrophic. I kept waiting for what it was. It took a little time to get there, but you knew it was coming. And then I like the way it ended. I think the moment it ended, because I usually don't like, I don't like movies that don't wrap things up for me usually. But
It didn't wrap up.
right, and I for some reason I liked it with this movie. I thought it worked.
You know, okay, now the doctor on my ship has died. Michael, you're useless. As we
He's
go to
completely
Mars.
useless.
Yeah.
Watch your back, bruh. You better watch
You
your
can't-
back around me.
I know. All I know is if I was
Can't
Mike,
even use the climbing gear.
if I was Michael, I definitely would have figured out how to climb that damn tether.
Exactly. At least offer. At least, you know, say, no, I have to do this. I have to earn my spot on this ship.
All right. Well, we got to get to the next movie. That was a good
It's a
discussion.
liability.
All right,
Yeah.
Micah, tell us all about the next movie.
The next film I have for you today is Monster. It's directed by Anthony Mandler, starring Kelvin Harrison Jr., Jennifer L., Tim Blake Nelson, Aesop Rocky, Nas, John David Washington, Jennifer Hudson, and Jeffrey Wright. It's based on a book of the same name. I forget the author's name. I apologize. And this is available on Netflix. Both of these are available on Netflix right now. It's the story of a smart, likable 17-year-old film student from Harlem, and he sees his world turned upside down when he's charged with a murder. We follow the dramatic journey through a complex legal battle. So this is more of a legal drama, which I was not expecting. And I really, really like this movie. This movie, it hits a little different. I got a little boy, and this is one of my fears, right? Like,
Yeah.
you hope that you can raise kids right, and part of that is who they hang out with. This film deals with peer pressure and how young black boys are shown or seen. I like that the way this film kind of doles out the story. You get bits and pieces, but you don't get everything right away, right?
Yep.
Like normally
Right.
in the
That's what
beginning
I
of
was
these
gonna say.
films,
Mhm.
yeah, normally in the beginning of these films, you see the incident and you know for a fact that this is an innocent person, right? But you don't know that. You don't know that in this movie, and it
Yeah.
really the movie makes you feel like one of the jurors going on and getting this information in real time.
Mhm.
And I hope that, I think the goal is to see if you instantly believe that this kid is a monster or that he did it, or have your preconceived notions challenged. I really like this movie. I really dug it.
Yeah.
Gianni, let's start with you. What did you think?
Like you said, I like how the movie carried things. It didn't let everything all out at once. My favorite character was I liked ASAP Rocky's character too, not because I like ASAP Rocky, but I like his
A lot of
character
people like ASAP
compared.
Rocky for some reason. Rihanna likes ASAP Rocky apparently.
ASAP
Yeah, she
Rocky,
does.
aka Rihanna's boyfriend, but go ahead.
AKA. I like that dynamic. And then I also liked. I love the whole movie. I don't even know where to start, but I think that my favorite parts were the inner dialogue that the main character had, like, because it kind of helped you, like Micah said, it helped you see how other people were seeing Black men and how they were convicted and things like that. So I really appreciate it. It kind of gave it like an artistic or just a deeper perspective into the movie. So you could like you said, play as a juror, like be yourself, deciding.
Yeah.
Liz, what do you think?
So I feel like I'm always, the Debbie Downer when it comes to movies, the demon seed when it comes to movies. First and foremost, I appreciate the cast for this movie. I thought the cast was excellent, particularly with Jennifer Hudson, who is an Academy Award winner, Jeffrey Wright, who should be an Academy
He's
Award winner
amazing.
at this point.
He's amazing.
Amazing actor, but also with the actor, I think his name is Kevin Harrison, is that his name? Who played the
Kelvin
main
Harrison,
character?
yes.
Calvin Harrison. Steve, who played Steve Harmon. Amazing performance. Amazing performance. Very captivating, very believable. As it relates to the actual storyline, did I like this movie? Yes. I did like it. It challenged me in how I thought about the situation. And it challenged me, like Gianni said, or like you said, Michael, it got you to look at this issue from a juror's perspective. And in the beginning, I felt one way, but as it started to unfold, I started to feel a different way. And so at the end, I think there was a very poignant question that was posed to the viewing audience as at the end, where they asked you, do you think he is a monster? And my answer to that is yes. I think he's a very deceptive monster because he lied. He lied about his.
That was going to be my question too.
He
Like,
lied
what
about
do
his.
people think? I'm iffy on that one.
He lied about his participation, and not only did he lie, but I didn't understand why the Evans character, John David, what's his name? Washington's character, Denzel's son, y'all. Why he didn't come forward and give the totality of, because he never said, like, he kept referring to Steve's character as ASAP Rocky's guy, right? He
Harmon.
never gave a true story about what that interaction was like. And then when we see the end through Steve's eyes, we see that, okay, John David was there when they told him, go into the store, when ASAP told him, go into the store, be the lookout. He took the kid's bike and he told the kid, give us a signal. And that's exactly what he did. It doesn't really, court of law, it doesn't matter necessarily what his motivation for that is unless he makes his motivation clear.
Now, I think
when he stepped out of the store and it was the light play. That's play, and the filmmaker, there was a signal, but it was not intended to be a signal. It was his filmmaker, because he stepped out, Liz, and it was the way that the light was
he didn't
framed,
signal them.
and he didn't signal them.
He did that motion. He did that motion earlier in the film. He did it earlier in the film when he's like, you have to watch. You have to pay attention when Gennaro Jarrell is, when he's arguing with him. He's looking through his camera and he kind of does that just to see how the light, because he's a filmmaker, so he's trying to figure out.
I think that was the whole point of using a filmmaker, was to
I didn't see
to
that.
play on the fact that he was actually a filmmaker, and also to use the whole storytelling concept as a lie.
Now that doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't intentional. That's left up to your interpretation.
That's left up to interpretation. And let's not forget, he had ample opportunity to get out of that situation. He could have run away. He could have told the shop owner what was going on. He could have made a distraction, or he could have gone over there and lied.
But he didn't know what was about to happen. He wasn't sure what was about to happen.
Come on now.
He had no information. They gave him no information. They bullied him into going. He's like, go look over there. Tell me if it's clear.
When he first asked why, and then when he's apprehensive about going in, he knew some shit wasn't right. Now, he may not have known that a guy, like, I don't think anybody knew the shop owner was going to die.
Know to that extent.
I don't think anybody knew that.
So I'm curious, how many of us think that, okay, so, all right, so one thing, I agree with Mike. I love the fact that they kind of did the story, the backstory in unison with the courtroom drama. Because, like you said, as a juror, you kind of feel like, okay, you're getting the story, but you're getting the truth as you're getting what the jury's getting, right? And so you're trying to find out if you've been deceived. So I'm curious, how many of us think that once we got the truth, right, and whatever the truth was, that he was still guilty, that you would have said,
oh, he's complicit. 93 steps.
Guilty of something. See that? Okay, so I agree.
Of something.
He is complicit.
Especially as it relates to the law. That's felony murder.
Yeah.
That's felony
But
murder.
I don't think he was guilty of murder. I can't put him in guilty of murder.
Accessory to.
Accessory to, yeah, I would give him accessory.
He could have used the truth of that story to his advantage. And he didn't. He sat there and said, I never went in there on their behalf.
Well, let me ask you this then. Would you have done the same thing in the same situation?
I don't know. I don't think I could say that. I don't think I could do that. Because
I think I would have done the exact same thing he did, because I would have done whatever it took not to see my ass in jail.
For them, yeah, on behalf of them.
So you mean, would you have done the same thing
as Harmon? Yeah. Would you have done this at any point? Well, okay, at any point actually. But I was thinking, like, would you have told the truth in the court?
I would have spun it differently to my lawyer, because the lawyer didn't even know the truth.
But would you lie on the stand? And it wasn't a full lie. I mean,
that's a hard question.
Would you lie on the stand to save your life?
A lie is a lie.
Yes.
So you would not do what he did. You would tell the truth.
A lie is a lie, especially as it relates to someone losing their life. A lie is a lie.
But the question is, would you do what he did to not go to jail?
I would have told a better lie.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So yes, you would have lied.
I understand, him not wanting to go to jail and him doing whatever it takes to, not be in prison. But again, that goes to my response to the question. He is kind of a monster in that respect, a deceptive monster, not a monster.
You know how many people lie on the stand to save their lives, save their asses?
That doesn't mean
that doesn't make everybody.
But
and the fact that we're calling it, because it's a black guy on the stand, we're calling the black guy a monster. Because there's a lot of monsters. That means like virtually, and I would say 90% of the people who are trying to save their lives in some way will tell some sort of lie to do that.
Do you know how many times
it's true.
Each of us on this panel has had a monster-like characteristic when we're trying to save ourselves? Now, to say that natural and innate personality is a different conversation. But
you're saying in that moment he was a monster.
So I have a follow-up question for Neo and Johnny, just based on self-preservation. So lying on the stand, you would do in order to preserve yourself, but you wouldn't blow somebody out of the goddamn airlock to ensure your survival.
Lie on the stand, yes, I would definitely lie on the stand, and yes, I would save someone else.
So that these people can go to jail and have their lives ruined for decades, but you can't get someone a quick out to make sure that nobody else
he did lie on the stand to put those people in jail. He just lied on the stand.
The difference? Sorry.
He lied on the stand to save himself.
Most people would lie on the stand to save themselves, and he does save himself for sure. And these guys,
but he did by lying on the stand. He didn't He didn't change their fate.
Oh no, and this
Just
isn't
change
one
his
movie
own
to another.
fate.
It's your statement of you would lie on the stand
Yeah.
to preserve yourself,
save
but you're
yourself.
not going to blow someone out of the airlock to save yourself.
No, I'm not going to kill somebody to
God
save
damn.
myself. No.
It's different.
It's self-preservation.
Yeah, it's different.
Right. There's a degree of there's a
There's
degree I'm
levels
willing
to
to
it.
go to self-preserve. Yes.
I mean, if you think about this guy, if you think about Steve, he still could have lived in jail. And that was another thing, Micah. I thought that they should have shown a little bit more what he was going through in jail. Because we kind
I
of
do too.
saw the
I do too.
psychological part of it a little bit, but we really didn't see the raw part of it. This is a young little chicken.
This is a
17-year-old.
17-year-old in a big boy prison.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
would have
Something would have happened to him.
Exactly.
Even
Yeah.
if they had tried to say Nas protected him or something, Nas's character protected him. At least do that.
That was Nas. It took me a minute to figure out that was Nas.
Really?
I didn't
I saw it
recognize
immediately.
He
I heard
did
his
look
voice. I was
different,
like, I
right,
know that's
Will?
not. Matter of fact, I wasn't even looking at the
He's
screen.
so-
I heard his voice, and I was like, okay, that's not.
I didn't recognize him as Nas. Maybe it's because he no
Yeah,
longer
he-
has that chip. Maybe that's what it is. I haven't gotten
Robbie, did you
God.
get to say? I don't. Did we hear Robbie? I don't remember.
I got to say a couple of things, and I really enjoyed a lot of the cinematic aspects of the movie. And as far as it being relatable, I think that's where it misses the mark for me, because I never lived in a metropolitan center, and I've never been exposed to or a victim of racial profiling. Like Micah was saying, he's got a young lad, and that's part of the education process. That's something that he's thinking about, where that's never been a part of my reality. One of the scenes was when early on in the movie, when the prosecution, what does he say? He looks the part, and I was just like, "Damn!"
Yeah,
And
Because this is a kid that excels in school, who's creative, who's a wonderful brother, who seems to be
He's
a good
different.
son. He just has, unfortunately, because of where he lives, he's exposed to some bad elements, and those bad elements come back to haunt him later on.
Yeah.
I think knowing predisposition was very important. I think it was also important to show that, like you just said, Rob, this is a kid that didn't come from the streets, that wasn't stereotypical hood. He lived in a 2-parent home, 2 working parents, 2 loving parents, never been in any trouble in his life. And yet here we are. So this was another instance or example of how the elements can run up on someone, can run up on a young man who's living in an urban environment, even though it's a distant urban environment, kind of, if you will. Because this was a kid who never thought, he wasn't a gangbanger. He knew A$AP Rocky, but that wasn't his boy. Each time they interacted, you could see hesitation on his part. Like, all right, I'll say hi just so I can keep peace. But I'm not.
And in his internal dialogue, he says, even said in his internal dialogue, I'm not really sure why I was, even dealing with this dude. I don't remember his exact words, but he kind of said that.
I love the inner dialogue.
Where to acknowledge with a lot of these kids in this country, that happens a lot. My point is, and I'm not saying that the character was a bad person. However, I think that there are elements of all of our personalities that can exhibit being a monster without being a bad person.
I mean, considering you guys would throw somebody out the airlock for just Stowaway, we know who the monsters are on this panel.
I'm not dying for Stowaway. I'm not dying for Stowaway. Nope.
You guys would never change that answer?
Nope.
No.
It's a numbers game,
If it meant
Johnny.
that I
It's
have
not
to,
worth.
Do not take a spaceship with these two over here.
Don't stow away on the ship and use up resources that I need to live. No.
Right,
Don't do that.
We're actually out of time.
I'm not dying for you for bullshit. Certainly not going to jail for you. Like, don't be a snitch. Lizzie,
Fair enough.
I'm not going to jail for you. I'm not.
All right. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So, Micah, can you just tell people where they can find you, find your podcasts, Black on Black Cinema, and Nerdpocalypse as well?
Just Google Black on Black Cinema or Google the Nerdpocalypse. We are everywhere that you can listen to a podcast on. Please spread y'all. I'm sorry. I'm discombobulated because y'all are wild, man. Like I love it. I love it. It's like this half of the screen is just like, nope, let them go. This one is just like, well, maybe give them a chance. And I can see both sides. I can see both sides, but ultimately, I'm kind of going this way.
Shoot.
I'm boo, Micah.
It sucks to have a good heart, Neo.
There's always room for one more on Team Wanna Live.
Team Wanna Live. Team want everyone to live. This is Team Everyone Lives. This is Team Everybody Lives.
I'm surprised at you, NASA. I'm surprised at you, NASA.
Well, like I said,
am
first of all,
surprised at your answer.
NASA would ensure that some of these contingencies would not have happened, especially after all the Apollo issues they had.
Oh, well, that's why they said it's not NASA. It's Hyperion. This is a private.
Right.
Private
Hyperion.
It's Elon Musk.
It's Elon, right? So the equivalent of SpaceX.
It's always his fault.
But all right, so yeah, tell them again where you are. You said anywhere they find podcasts. Okay, Nerdpocalypse, all those, right?
The Nerdpocalypse, Dense Pixels. We talk about video games. Black
got
and Black Cinema,
Instagram?
we talk about movies. I personally have an Instagram, but unless you want to see a bunch of toy photographies and some pictures,
I'm
of
sure
my child,
somebody wants to see some toy photography.
I'll tell you what. I'll give it to you next. I'll give it to you next time.
All right, my friend
I gotta make
Micah,
sure it's
thank
all
you
clean.
so much for joining us. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. All right, we'll talk to you
All
soon.
right, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Micah.
I think this is very educational. I think this is very educational for our viewing audience to know who we are and what you're dealing
Yes.
with.
I think what we need to start doing, when we do movie time, I think we need to put out there earlier which movie we're going to watch so people can watch with us, so they can be like in on the
Yeah.
conversation.
That's true. Let's do
We
that.
might have to do that like a week before, be like, this is the movies we watching for movie time.
We're
Okay, so
challenging you all now.
popcorn.
Watch Stowaway and tell me whether you think you would give your life for Michael, the Stowaway. Watch Monster and tell us what you think about the main character, Steven.
That's right. All right, so let's get into our let's get into our regular topics. No longer hot topics because we have a whole week now. So if you've never been to TLS before, let me tell you a bit about us. Each week our hosts bring us topics in the news they want to discuss. That host will tell everybody what's going on. Then our lovely panel will chat about it, sharing their unique points of views on the issue until we see our friend Genji. The birthdays today.
Genji.
And then we know it's time to go talking to you, our audience, online for comments and questions. Then at the very end, we'll just ask, is this truth, lies, or shenanigans? For our podcast listeners on Apple Podcasts, don't forget you can join in the conversation live every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. We stream on all major platforms. So let's get to it.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
Let's start out with Rob B today. Rob B
LeBron
is...
is down at the half, y'all.
Say what?
LeBron is down at the half, y'all. For all y'all LeBron.
Don't nobody care about no LeBron.
I like LeBron.
Oh, except Gianni. Gianni cares about LeBron. All right, Robbie. So you want to talk about the Summer Olympics is officially a go after a 1-year delay. Tell us what's up.
Well, as you were just saying, late March of 2020, the Olympic Games in Tokyo were put on hold due to growing concerns over the COVID-19 virus. But now these games are set to open on July 23rd in just a couple of months. So a year ago, only 23% of Japanese citizens wanted the Olympics to take place in their country the following summer. And recent polls show that approximately 60% of the Japanese people want the Olympic Games canceled altogether, not postponed, canceled. So,
Damn.
my question to the panel is, would you invite the rest of the world to your capital city during a pandemic? And should necessary medical personnel be reallocated to the Olympic venue?
So why don't we start out with let's start with Liz on this one. Let's start on Liz on this. What do you think, Liz?
I mean, I don't want to invite the outside world to my city pre-pandemic, without a pandemic. Like, I understand I live in a very tourist
Especially
city, the
DC.
nation's Washington, D.C., but they get on my nerves. They occupy all the space, and they're very rude. So I wouldn't want them here regardless. However, I understand what the people of Tokyo are dealing with. This is something that has been planned in the works for at least, I want to say, before the pandemic, at least a decade.
Yeah.
It's to pick an Olympic city, an Olympic host city, is not something that happens overnight. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of bidding.
money.
There's a lot of bribes that go into
Bribes,
this.
yes.
So I get it, but I don't. Do I think it's too fast? Yeah, I do. I do think it's too fast. I do think that they are just trying to, like, okay, a couple of people have been vaccinated. Some of the numbers have been, better than what they were this time last year. However, they're not paying attention to the fact that there's been a recent surge in Japan, in Tokyo, in the COVID numbers. There's been a state of emergency, until the end of May, which is what, this coming weekend, this coming next Monday, if you will, for Tokyo, as it relates to the COVID virus. So all is not well over there. And you really want to bring in, we're not talking about bringing in just some folks from, Canada, the US. We're talking about bringing in people from all over the world. And the fact that they are not mandating that everyone should be vaccinated. So I'm just like, if I'm living in Japan, I'm just like, okay, they're setting me up. They're setting us up, for the sake of some dollars and for, a tournament, if you will. And I get it. I understand. As a sports journalist, I understand the athlete's position as it relates to this issue. The Olympics was supposed to be held last summer in Japan, and it got postponed because of the pandemic. Fast forward to 2021. My thing is, why didn't they fast forward it to 2022? Like, give everyone a ample amount of time, some breathing room, if you will. Now everything seems so rushed, so rushed. And if the numbers drop, like I said, the numbers are rising. If the numbers, the Olympics are, in July. If the numbers aren't any better, are they still gonna, hold these games? What are they gonna do then? Like it's insane. And just so we're clear, we all know what happens in the Olympic Village. There's a lot of intermingling in the. There's a lot
Intermingling.
of
There is.
That's true.
in the Olympic Village, without any mask, without any condoms, without any protection.
Yeah, when you say intermingling, we're talking what did Olivia say?
Relations.
Mixing DNAs.
Yeah.
Swapping DNA.
Swapping DNA.
There's a lot of that going. So it has the potential to be another spreader. And so I don't know what the rush is. I get it for some of the athletes who are at the last moment of their career. They might not be able to compete in 2022. But we've all sacrificed during this pandemic. So yeah, I would postpone it 100%. 100%. And I say this as someone who is excited that I'm even watching sports right now again. But I would postpone it. I would postpone it.
Johnny, your thoughts?
No, I definitely agree. I feel like majority rules in this case, and even the people. I think, Rob, your question: would I want it? Would I want people from around the? I personally would not, and the Japanese people don't either. So I feel like just respect their wishes. Some of the Olympians are even saying, I think the athletes. I said it wrong. Sorry. Some of the athletes are even saying that they would although there's something they've been training for years, they still would rather take the precaution and just postpone it. So I agree. In short.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we're turning the corner on the pandemic, at least here in the U.S. I know it's not happening in other countries, and I know it's not happening in Tokyo. But one of the things is I feel like we've learned a lot about how to handle the pandemic in terms of making sure we're protected, making sure we're doing the right things. You can't control people, like Lizzie says. People will intermingle and do their things. But we do know what we should and should not be doing. And, it's sort of like those parties we were talking about in one of the previous shows. Yeah, you can hold the host of the party accountable, sure. But you guys, and many of you guys were stating that it's really not the host, it's the individuals, the people attending. If you feel unsafe for some reason, or you feel like you can't manage the people, or you can't manage your situation, your area around you, then don't go. I mean, countries can opt out. You
With
can
the
choose to opt
Olympics?
out. You can choose.
I think a government
Countries can
has
opt out.
I think a government has a larger responsibility than me as an individual trying to have a party at my house. The government knows that they have citizens, they have constituents in their state that they are responsible for. That's what they do. That is their duty. And to pretend like this isn't an issue, to pretend like this isn't rising, to pretend like you haven't, at the very least, demand that your athletes that come to your country be vaccinated. But even with that, I posted this on the TLS Facebook page earlier this week. There is, in the United States, in Washington, D.C., Washington Nationals baseball team, fully vaccinated baseball player who contracted COVID.
Yep.
So
Oh,
it's
wow.
there's still a lot that's going on with this. And so now you have athletes who may have been vaccinated, who may not have been
And
vaccinated.
asymptomatic as well.
Yes.
He was asymptomatic,
Yep.
which also is problematic, right? And so you have all of these, you have
Yeah.
thousands of athletes, coming into your country. Not only are they putting themselves at risk, but also your citizens at risk. I think that's that's huge. And it's not like we can't have this in 2022.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We
The venue,
can decide.
exactly. The venue's still going to be there. If they've invested in new infrastructure, it's still going to be there in 2022. And the crux problem is
we're all
that
adults.
the Olympic officials have said that they need approximately 10,000 medical workers to staff the games. Meanwhile, nurses and medical staff are saying that they're already near a breaking point of dealing with the coronavirus pandemic in their country. So to invite everyone from the rest of the world is completely irresponsible and reprehensible. This is not the time to do it, and it needs to be postponed. Neo, I can appreciate what you're saying, that the US is maybe turning a corner when it comes to the pandemic. Well, the US is going to be having a surplus of vaccines because of the amount of people who refuse to take the vaccine, but you're nowhere near the numbers for herd immunity yet. And you are doing better than most countries internationally. So you can't do it right now. And I understand that there's significant investment.
What do we
to
know
bring the
about
games
2022 that makes it different than right
That
now? I
makes
mean,
a change. I'm thinking that too. Yeah.
Because
Like,
because again, we have variants, we have other things. Really, it's going to come down to people being safe, because the vaccine is just because Lizzie suggested that, hey, if they come into our place, they should be vaccinated. That doesn't guarantee. You've already proven that doesn't guarantee anything. On top of that, there are variants going out there. So at what point, going forward, do we say that it's going to be okay to get together and do things, because COVID's not going away?
This isn't just getting together.
The vaccine isn't 100% answer.
This isn't just getting together, having a party in your backyard. This is an international event where you're inviting thousands of people from all over the world, some who may be vaccinated, some who may not
They
be
should put
vaccinated.
protocols in place and have the thing.
And so I think it's a simple
Neo's like
to
final
say,
thought.
what's the difference between 2021 and 2022? What's the
The
difference
NBA
between
proved protocols work.
what's the difference between 2020 and 2021? More advancement, more.
I mean, 20 and
more
21, yeah, sure.
But that's the same going into 2021 and 2022. There's more advancement.
But we understand it well enough
But
to
it's not
protect ourselves
guaranteed.
now. And all they have to do is put the
Guaranteed.
proper protocols in place and it can happen just fine.
That's mandatory. Again, we're not talking about this is the Olympics. It's not mandatory. It can happen at any given moment. This is a sporting event. Okay? Like none of us would die if we don't have the Olympics in July 2020. And I say this as a sports journalist. We're not going to die if we hold off on the Olympics for another year.
What happens to the every 4 years? Does that change because it's now like pushed back?
There are a significant number of people that have trained for this Olympics, and another year from now, they will not be able to compete at the same level.
Yeah, they won't. They won't. It's different.
Again.
That's the nature of competition.
And that's not
But they're not able to compete.
That's the nature of competition.
We're in a pandemic. We're in a pandemic. You adjust to the medical issue at hand.
If they would just
we gotta have
protocols work.
this particular athlete won't be able to compete. That's ridiculous. That's
All right,
ridiculous.
let's get to it. We went over time on this one. Let's get to our comments on it.
Watching this morning, watching earlier today at the playoff game with the Wizards and the 76ers, a near full arena.
Protocols work.
No mask on.
Protocols.
You're not going to be able to stop someone from getting sick. It's not possible. COVID is here to stay.
But you can
Like the
stop
flu.
how those people enter your venue. Because if you look at the hockey game, the the Caps hockey game that's going to happen tonight at 7:00, it's not going to be a full arena. It's not.
Look, you may have okay, in that full arena, you may have 10 people get sick, 20 people get sick. That is the nature going forward of this what we're going to have to deal with.
10 people that get sick, avoid it. They go home, they get 10 other people sick. They get 100 other people sick. And again, for the Olympics, we're talking about international people coming in. We don't know what they're coming in with.
That's true.
But that's always going to be the case, is what I'm saying. You're always going to be dealing with that. And you're always going to need protocols.
But that's why you wait. Like, what is the rush? What is the rush for 2021?
So
there's no rush.
Yeah, there's no rush. There's no technical
If we keep gathering in these numbers and the virus keeps mutating, Neo, then the final solution is going to be basically the
screenplay. All right, let's get to our contagion. We got to get to the next.
Contagion.
Okay, we got to get to our next topic. Let's get to the comments.
That's true. That's true.
All right. So, Sonia C. Elias Cueto. I believe people who have been vaccinated should still be tested. Vaccination doesn't equal immunity. And I agree, we're in a pandemic. Forget the Olympics. Kevin Thaxton, it's a bragging rights set of games, not that important. The Olympic Committee doesn't have a medical section that can manage the amount of athletes that will attend the game.
Well said. Well said.
Mike Wolf, but of course, thousands of journalists, including NBC broadcast staff all over the place, true. How would the athletes feel about being confined to the Olympic Village?
I would not go if I was still working for, an entity that said, okay, you're on Olympic duty. Hell no, I'm on Olympic duty from Washington. I'm not going to Tokyo. I'm barely leaving my house in D.C. You think I'm going to Tokyo?
Jacqueline Ruff says, I remember how shocked we were at some of the unsanitary conditions in the Olympic Village in Rio de Janeiro.
Thank you. Pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Rio was a cesspool of nonsense.
And before we move on, I just want to
Ew.
point out to the previous to our conversation about who gets thrown out the airlock. My father said, "What it is what it is." Dad.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Neo was just
He's
here
just
like
throwing people
outing
out too.
everybody.
All
Wow.
right.
You know,
All
dude,
right.
even Sophie had to make a tough choice. So I mean,
Sophie's choice.
Don't be a stowaway.
All right. All right. All right. Y'all protecting people with the pandemic, though. All right. So,
hell yeah.
all right. So let's. What do we call this? Truth, lies, or is this shenanigans, guys? Truth, lies, or shenanigans?
It's
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. The first thing that comes to my head.
I think, yeah, it's shenanigans. I'm going with shenanigans with you guys. All right, so we are on to the next one. We have to keep these a lot shorter. All right. Lizzie, you got some fun stuff with some men and women's bodies. So
Oh my
what
goodness.
tell us all
What?
about this cleavage.
Cleavage
So,
situation.
we're not going to talk too much about cleavage because I have a lot of cleavage, so we're not going to talk about that. I'm not putting myself on display. However, a lot of these crazy stories always come out of Florida. Always come out of
Yes.
Florida.
Not so yes. Yeah, Florida.
Don't move
Another
there.
Florida. This time we are dealing with a high school in Florida. The name of the high school is Bartram High School. And apparently they decided that they were going to alter the yearbook pictures of 80 young girls in the senior class because they felt they were showing too much cleavage,
80 young girls.
if you will. 80. It was 80.
Good Lord.
80. So somebody, well, one, because they felt that they were showing too much cleavage in their yearbook pictures. But think of it this way. Someone went through the yearbook pictures, and I'm sure it was male. I'm sure it was a man. Went through the yearbook pictures and was like,
That's true.
Yeah.
Somebody had to decide.
But
True.
judging a woman's body, and if you look at the main picture of this young lady, she's not showing anything. Like she arrived to school.
Let me see if I
in
can
this
zoom
top.
in on that.
She either arrived to school in this top or she arrived to the photo shoot, which was, and I think you remember, Nia. I don't know, maybe you don't remember, Nia, but when we took our yearbook pictures, there was someone from the school there looking, overseeing what we had on, what we were doing, or what have you. So this young lady thought she was okay, only to find out that her picture had been altered based on, again, the opinion of another adult. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of info before I ask the question to the panel. So we're talking about young ladies who are 16, maybe 17, taking a yearbook picture where someone is saying that they're showing too much cleavage, where the majority of them don't have any cleavage. But on the flip side, there were pictures of the men's swim team. I'm sorry, the boys' swim team.
Oh yeah.
In Speedo.
Yeah.
That was in the yearbook.
I don't have that picture.
Good.
Excuse me, my question to you all is, what gives?
What say you?
All right, let's start out with Robbie on this one.
Cool. So the Speedo argument is a weak premise to use in it because it is an athletic uniform and the story doesn't say anything about the girls' swim team picture. And they do that very intentionally because neither of those group photos has been edited. Bartram High School's previous procedure was to not include student pictures in the yearbook that they deemed was in violation of the student code of conduct. And basically, it was just you get a black thumbnail, your picture's not there. This year, they decided to go with digital alterations. They thought that that was a better solution. I really think that they should have stuck to their old policy rather than body shaming these girls via Photoshop, because it absolutely is a form of body shaming. If they have legitimate concerns about dress code on picture day, like you were saying, Liz, assign a staff member to the photographer for the day. So if they didn't do that, bad management decision. Photoshopping the pictures after the fact, bad decision.
I agree.
All right, Johnny.
I feel I kind of agree with what Rob was saying. Initially, I'm like, F the dress code, because in high school they would bother me, but it was because I have long legs. Like, things really were just short on me. Like, but whatever. In this scenario, I feel like the women, the young girls, should have been addressed when they were going to take the pictures, because now there's the young girls in the article that say, well, I feel sexualized now because I didn't even know people were looking at that, in regards to the yearbook photo. Yeah, that's so awkward. It has to feel so awkward as a young girl to have that. Yeah, happen.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, I think we're over-sexualizing young girls anyway at this point. I mean, we're over-sexualizing women in general. I mean, I am okay with women, and this is not just because I'm a man, but I figure if men should be allowed to be topless, women should be allowed to be topless if they so choose to be. I mean, I think it's an unfair, it's unfair. I mean, I have seen so many stories about women trying to breastfeed their children, and people getting upset about that in public. Come on. I mean, we are women. It's no different. What I mean, yes, there's some glands underneath that women have that men don't, but otherwise there's really no difference. We've sexualized women to a degree where showing something like this cleavage has become too much. But even this, I mean, this is so. At least the one picture that we saw was just like nothing. I mean,
most of the pictures,
and I could see them feeling sexualized after that.
Yeah,
whereas before they were just, this is just normal, like normal wear to them. I mean, this is relatively normal in our society.
Most of the pictures of the young ladies were similar to this. And so, like you just said, Neo, you're sending a horrible message to these girls that there's something wrong with their natural breasts.
Yeah.
In no way, shape, or form were these pictures explicit. Were any of these young ladies overshowing? Were they, giving anyone a flash, showing a nipple or anything? They just showed up in, what I think all of them had to have on black, either camisoles or t-shirts or whatever. That's what happens if you have boobs. That's what happens. You guys often see me in pre-show. I'll pull my shirt up. But in a regular t-shirt, you can see some of my boobage. It just happens that I have bigger boobs than the average girl of my size. It's not my fault. It's not me trying to, be on OnlyFans, like, ooh.
OnlyFans.
It's just the reality of the situation. And like you all said, to think that there was an adult in this situation who was sitting back like, ooh.
Yeah, that's even weirder.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
These kids are 16, 17 years old. That's disgusting. And the fact that they didn't let the parents or the students know that this could happen beforehand is appalling.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's get to these comments. Jacqueline Robinson says, women's bodies have been policed since forever. And Sonia says,
I love going to the beach and seeing a woman that shows a little bit of ankle and elbow.
Sonia says, as a woman, I don't care to see excessive cleavage. Maybe I'm old school. No, I don't think that's old school.
Excessive cleavage, yeah, no.
This wasn't excessive cleavage. And quite frankly, in a free society, if you don't want to see it, close your eyes.
Look away. Yeah.
Yeah.
I might not want to see man boobs either, but men are open.
Right. I feel you.
Rob.
I don't want to see that shit.
That's funny. One of the so I on my TikTok page I do inappropriate commercials. I have a commercial where the guy has his he's tanning and he has his hands are covering his chest And so he takes his hands off. It looked like he had like 10 lines.
That's so
So
funny.
I'm gonna be posting that one like coming this week. But anyway, it's hilarious commercial. Anyway, all right, we gotta get on to the next one. So we're calling this Truth Lies or we're calling this Shenanigans? I'm calling this Live Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Again.
All
Live
right,
shenanigans.
Leave us
Gianni.
alone. Leave my alone. Leave it alone.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Gianni, you're up.
Truth, lies,
YouTube went
shenanigans.
down and Twitter went crazy. Tell everybody what's up.
YouTube went down and Twitter went crazy. So the popular streaming platform, as you guys know, is YouTube, had a global outage this past week, and still we don't know the issue. It's still unknown as to why it went down. But users across the globe reported that they had playback issues and they received error messages and things like that. So as soon as that happened, users went to Twitter to post funny reactions and memes and posts in regard to YouTube going down. If Neo, you can show them as I talk a little bit.
Yeah, we had there was a few.
So it's confirmed that at least 90% of users or viewers were unable to watch videos. I was one of those people. And this type of outage hasn't happened since 2020, where Google, actually all Google services were down for over an hour. So this happened again, and it was for a little bit longer. My question to the panel is, what would happen if the internet shut down? What are your thoughts on this outage?
So as far as the internet shutting down, that would devastate us for sure. So, it almost feels like some days the internet is shut down on us because but no, it's
Yeah.
I can't imagine the internet shutting down at this point. I mean, it would be pretty. It's almost like electricity. So
Catastrophic, almost. Yeah.
you know, we're so dependent on
Huge.
it at this point. Especially if it's shut down permanently, that would take us way back to some days
Stone
that
Age.
we probably haven't even experienced in a very long time, and we really are extremely dependent. Shoot, I wouldn't have a job if the internet went down. So,
Yeah.
well,
That's
okay,
interesting.
I still might have a job. There are some.
I'd still have a job.
Rob's like,
Yeah. If electricity
Yeah.
went away, I wouldn't have a job. But but we are becoming. I mean, there's going to become a point in time where we are so dependent on the internet that it would be like electricity, where we just would not be able to do anything. We would pretty much go back to what would seem like dark ages. So,
wow.
yeah, and we're getting
I
close to
agree.
there. We're getting close to that type of dependency. So,
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Rob?
Well, I mean, why it went down? It's technology is a people just imagine technology works. I'll put it up in the cloud. Well, that's a server farm. The cloud isn't just
a bunch of
something
computers.
ethereal that you throw it out. That's a server farm that somebody has to manage. That's on a network that someone has to manage. And shit breaks. Not all updates work the way that they're supposed to. So yeah, and I'm with Neo. If the internet went away at this point in time, it would be very chaotic because we would have to readjust to a period to about maybe 40 years ago. We'd be going back to the 80s essentially, because you'd be doing phone-in catalog ordering. Newspapers would be so very happy if the internet went away. Libraries
We don't even have
would be so very
landlines
happy.
anymore. The U.S. has been eliminating landlines.
That's a good
We
thing.
would need to go get our DVD players and tape recorders.
Right.
Gianni, VHS, girl. VHS. Not
VHS. Sorry.
Yeah, we wouldn't even be able to talk to one another because, like I said, landlines are gone. So they're all done through Wi-Fi and stuff and internet. So
That's so
our cell
crazy. I
phones
didn't
to a
realize
mobile.
how connected.
Yeah. It would just be chaotic because I can recall an incident where we had a power outage a few years ago, and my son was at the house, and he was just like, "Are we going to lose our internet? I need a charge on my phone. Like I'm down to 10%." And FOMO is a real thing.
Yeah.
So until people processed their FOMO and got to the next step of how are we going to get through this? A lot of people would lose their minds. All the Twittards and the Insta crazies, like if you've built your life around a social media platform, an ethereal and unreal platform, if it went away, then you're only left with you. So what substance do you have to
Yeah.
fulfill you?
That's
All right.
true, Rob.
Lizzie, you got a few seconds here.
I mean, I think it's the same thing if we ask the question, what if the telecom network went down and we weren't able to make
Yeah.
phone calls? I think people, get sensitive to it because they haven't yet bought into or the idea of internet, of Wi-Fi, of everything being online. But let me tell you,
Yeah.
I conducted my entire, teaching semester in the spring over the past year over the internet. And when I had Wi-Fi issues or when my students had Wi-Fi issues, they couldn't connect with me. Last week, mid-job interview, my Wi-Fi went down. I was on a job
Oh,
interview
no.
with 4 other people. My Wi-Fi went down. My initial panic lasted maybe 15 seconds. And then I was like, okay, you know how to fix this. So it wasn't coming back on my computer. So I had to log on through my phone, thankfully, where I have not only Wi-Fi, but cellular data. And so I was able to,
Yeah.
pick back up to that. But it's not just affecting, people who want to do YouTube or want to do Twitter or TikTok or something like that. It's a part of our livelihood at this point. So it's
Yeah, it is.
understandable if we freak out a little bit. Because I was just like,
That's true.
okay, he asked me a question and he thinks now I'm shutting down because I don't know how to answer the question. I was so nervous. And like,
Oh,
I
wow.
can see that. I can see somebody thinking that.
Yeah.
it was crazy, but thankfully, I was able to log back on my phone. Now, if all networks had gone out, that would have actually been in my favor because his network would have gone out too.
That's
True.
true.
So there wouldn't have been any judgment. But I think people need to start to open their minds and catch up with technology
Yeah.
a little bit,
All right, so Jose says it's okay. I have tons of books if the internet goes down. And Jacqueline
Oh,
Roberts says
bro.
it would be catastrophic for our jobs. Legal profession relies on the internet for research as well as remote hearings and depositions.
Mm.
So I can
Oh,
see it definitely
wow.
being catastrophic. All right, that is it for Hot
Truth,
Topics.
lies, shenanigans.
Oh, was that Truth, Lies, or Shenanigans? That's probably Truth, actually.
Yeah, it's the truth.
We might be able
That's
to go
true.
back to Hot Topics. I think we might be able to go to the name Hot Topics. Like, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it is a
Not
little
having
It feels different.
weird.
Yeah.
Hot Topics.
Yeah,
All right.
it does.
All right, so let's get to our game show.
Who wants to play a game? Who wants to play a game?
We're going to make this really quick, so hopefully you guys don't get this stuff right. We need it to be quick. I'm already trying to cheat. So, all right, so we are playing Disney movie trivia from BuzzFeed. We'll go around the horn. I'll read off the questions and give you the 4 options. Answer, you get it right. First, you get a point, and the person with the most points gets a coveted final thought for the show. All right.
Before we start, can I just get a boost on my juice because I really can't see the wording?
Oh, got you. Oh, I'm on it. All right. Give me 1 second. Give you a little boost
Oh,
on
much
your.
better. Stop right there. Much
I'll
better. Much better.
give you a boost on your
Hey,
juice.
there we go.
little
Yeah.
boost
Now we
on
can
your
read
juice.
that.
All right. Which famous comedian or actor voiced Mushu in Mulan? This is for Lizzie. Was it Jim Carrey,
Easy.
Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy, or Robin Williams? Voiced Mushu in Mulan.
Mulan, I'm going to say the late Robin Williams.
Robin Williams.
All right.
Let's check it out.
I think.
Eddie!
Oh,
Eddie!
I'm in the wrong window. That is incorrect. Incorrect.
Oh, yeah.
No, I know nothing about animation. I know nothing about
It was
animation.
Eddie Murphy. I actually
thought
didn't know
Mushu was the
myself. I
cricket.
didn't have that answer. So,
Actually,
all right.
that was the first gig that he did that wasn't R-rated because he wanted to start producing stuff that was good for his kids to take in. And after his success with Mushu, it opened up the door for a lot of other Disney movies, and that movies that he did too.
Eddie Murphy has 10 kids
Wow.
by 5 different women. I can't keep
Yep.
up. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
He does.
All right, this is for Rob B. What was Snow White doing when she was confronted by the old hag? Cleaning, making pies, making dinner, or picking flowers outside of the dwarf's cottage?
Remember.
Oh man, I think she was making pies for the dwarves at that point.
I think she was doing too. Let's see. That is correct.
Yay.
Correct, Rob B. All right. All right. Rob B gets a point. All right. In The Princess and the Frog, which food was Tiana's specialty? This is for Gianni. Which food was Tiana's specialty? Was it bananas Foster, beignets, gumbo, or jambalaya?
Gumbo.
Gumbo.
Shoes
Let's
from
see. That
Nova.
is incorrect. 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 It was beignets. Beignets. Looked like Rob B
I
had
don't
the
even know how to
answers.
pronounce that.
Oh, that's one of Jose's favorite movies. She loves Raymond.
Really?
All right, here's a true or false for Lizzie. True or false?
Raymond.
We never see Bambi's father in Bambi. True or false? So do we ever see Bambi's father in Bambi?
So
False.
think of the first 30 seconds of the movie.
False.
So it's false. That is correct. Correct. All right. So you and Robbie
Wait,
are
so we
tied.
do see Bambi's father?
All
And
right,
I see
Robbie.
Thumper there. I see Thumper there. So I have watched some cartoons in my life.
All right, Robbie. This is for you. In Alice in Wonderland, the Queen of Hearts challenges Alice to a match of oh gosh.
Oh my God, I know
This is
this.
so easy. To a match
Yeah,
of what
yeah.
game? Would that be cricket, golf, bocce, or croquet?
What was that last one again, son?
Croquet.
Yes.
Let's check it out. Let's see. Let's see. Croquet. That is correct. Correct. All right. Last one. Last one. Let's see. This is for Gianni. Gianni. In the Beauty and the Beast, Gaston says that he eats how many eggs a day to stay large. In Beauty and the Beast, Gaston says he eats how many eggs a day to stay large. Is it a dozen, 3 dozen, 5 dozen, or 8 dozen?
A dozen.
A dozen? Let's see. That is incorrect. Incorrect. And that makes Rob B our winner for the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
Good job, Rob.
Rob B. All right. All right. Good job, Rob B. Good job, Rob B.
Cartoons all day.
All right. 3 minutes over. 3 minutes over. Let's get in some shout outs. Gianni, shout outs.
Shout out to the Middle East. Hopefully there's peace in the Middle East soon. And shout out to Olivia E. And see you guys on Wednesday for Unscripted.
All right. Wednesday, unscripted. Rob B.
Shout out to all the single parents that are out there that are working hard to improve their situation and by proxy their kids. Keep at it. I just spent some wonderful time with my daughter today who's back in school. So just always take that next step forward, man. Keep going.
Love it. And Lizzie Enders, shout outs.
A better judgment. Shout out to Neo Nix, even though he didn't want it. Really acknowledge his birthday. Happy birthday, bruh.
Thank
Happy
you, Lizzie.
birthday, bruh.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Aw.
And my shout outs to my wife. I was having a rough start to my birthday and she made it a wonderful birthday, so I do appreciate that. All right, and
Have a good birthday.
oh yeah, some days it's just not the best, and some days
Lizzie's
it's
next.
the best. So she made it great, so I do appreciate that. And our pet shenanigans of the week goes to Olivia E with her black Pomeranian holding him like a baby with the caption
cute.
charcoal wanted mommy and me time. He gets what he wants. Now,
Oh, charcoal.
I had to show our runner-up because it is just so much cuteness. Ann Marlowe posted the cutest video of her little kid.
Oh my
And I think this is a
gosh.
runner-up because it came in late.
Yep.
But this is just so adorable.
That's so cute.
And this has to be a baby bit, because I got Remy at 2.5 months, and Remy was not this
Wow.
small. So this is
Yeah,
a
that baby's
baby
small.
fresh out of
That's
the oven.
tiny.
Yes. Such a
Oh,
cute,
very cute.
such a cute. So
Cuteness.
make sure you join our TLS Pet Shenanigans Facebook group. The photo with the most likes and comments gets a TLS shout out each week. And that is all the time we have for today's show. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. We hope that maybe you learned something, gained a new perspective, got some things off your chest. Don't forget, follow and subscribe, like, and share at TLS Live Show. Tomorrow, check out our YouTube clips, TLSshow.com. Now, we are taking a break next week to celebrate Memorial Day with our families. Our next live show is on Sunday, April 6th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time and 1 p.m. Pacific.
Sunday, June 6th.
Did I say April? I said April? All right, you guys can come back in April and see the show.
We're time
I
traveling.
said April. I actually said April. It's, June 6th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a fantastic guest, TV reporter Jamie Perez. And don't forget, this Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Gianni Storm and Olivia Eve going unscripted once again. And our winner for our final thought is Mr. Robbie Rock. Robbie Rock, take us out.
So inspired by this weekend's events for me, buy a planter and grow something that you can eat. There's so many mental benefits that go with it. You can, Mother Nature teaches you to accept. Just a planter, anything.
Love that.
Mother Nature will teach you acceptance, that you're not always in control. It helps you connect with others, your world, reduce stress, and there's just something about
I'm with
growing
Lizzie.
your own food that is so satisfying.
No, I love that, Rob. That's amazing.
And if you're not sure where to start, just start. Google that shit.
I'm on the know with the Lizzie. But it's a great thought, Robbie. It's a great thought, though.
Grow your food.
And pay you to plant it for me. I'll buy a planter and pay you to plant it for me.
Fantastic thought. All right, so I'd like to thank you, Gianni, Ravi, Lizzie, and our people behind the scenes, Jose, Olivia, E. You guys are fantastic. We thank you so much. But most importantly, I want to thank you, our audience, for joining us. And we will definitely see you guys the next show. 2 weeks, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Lies, shenanigans, truth, lies, shenanigans, truth, lies, shenanigans, truth, lies, shenanigans.